Hello and welcome to the Record Club, brought to you by Record Store Day, the official charts and National Album Day, and proudly in association with Bowers Wilkins. My name is Jess Iszatt, and we are very excited to say that our guest this week is Litany, chatting all about her debut album, Sadgirl. If you've hung out with us here before, you will know that we're going to be spending the next half an hour or so talking to Litany all about the brand new record, and then we'll be putting forward some of your questions about the album for her to answer. So get involved, drop us a question in the comments section. I'll be asking a selection of them in the second half of our chat. And on top of that, one lucky person who sends in a question today is going to be randomly selected to win a pair of Bowers Wilkins PX7 Season 2 over-ear noise cancelling headphones. I'm modelling them now. Don't miss out. Get your questions to us. If you haven't already got yourself a copy of the album, we thoroughly recommend you order one from your local record store once our chat is over. So let's get straight into this week's Record Club and say a big hello to Litany.
You.
Welcome. How are we doing? Are you good?
Yes, all good. Very good. It's sun is shining here in Yorkshire, which makes a massive difference. So yeah, it's lovely. Having a great time.
Amazing.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Again, enjoying the sunshine. I'm a bit of a sun worshipper. So
Nice.
yeah, really enjoying it. And also the music was sounding fab, like out in the sunshine as well. We actually start things here on the Record Club with a question from one of the many amazing independent record stores in the UK. And this week, we've actually doubled up because Bill, who is a volunteer at Vinyl Eddie, and also runs with Just a Hint of Mayhem, the music blog, has come at us with two questions. They're both very good ones, so we're going to go with it. He's asking, who are your main musical influences? And then he says, I sensed a little Judy Suki on I Need a Man.
Oh, well, wowee. I mean, think it changes, doesn't it? I mean, my influences have completely meandered through the years. I'd say for this record, the biggest inspiration sonically was probably like early 2000s Madonna and Jamiroquai, which
Oh,
yeah, like I was just listening to a lot of like funky stuff, but then also atmospheric electronica, and it really seeped into it when I was writing it. But songwriting wise, I love country music. Yeah, and yeah, that was basically it in terms of this album, but it has changed a
you know
lot.
what? I was getting that as well. Like I think in my notes it was Robin, sort of that the electro, and
Yeah.
then maybe like thematically a little bit, but then yeah, the American tone, like the country vibes to your tone, maybe almost a bit folky, with how you sung things, so that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Robin was a huge influence prior to this album. I mean, she's always an influence, right? She's amazing. In terms of like any female fronted pop outfit, they're gonna absolutely love her and admire her work. But yeah, for this one, it was very specifically down that avenue. And like I was listening to a lot of the Cardigans as well, and I just think you can kind of hear it. If yeah, now that you know, you can hear it.
And the second question, Bill has said, also, I did a bit of research and York Calling have done some great pieces on your music. How much would you say music blogs help with discovery, especially for grassroots acts?
I'd say in my case, it was completely instrumental to where I how I got here, you know. I did start in this industry quite a few years ago. I released my debut single in 2015 and my debut EP in 2017. So we're going back a few years. And back then, the only way you could really break was through music blogs. So I'm eternally grateful to all of the journalists that wrote about all of my early music. I'd say now, I'm noticing obviously as across everything a decline in writing, but when you get it, when you get a piece and someone's written something about you, nothing, there is no feeling like it. And I miss the days of like prolific music journalism online. So Bring it back. Need more music blogs, please.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because around 2014 was one of my first new music shows that I ever did on a community station. And my co-host that I'd been put with, I didn't know him before, was a music blogger, and that was really his craft. And I remember every time we went to gigs, there were loads of music bloggers then. It really was a sort of way of getting out there with people voicing their opinions. But I don't know, it really was through their own experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember all of the articles that were written, from the first ones back in 2015. And I don't know, does it still exist? Does Hype Machine still exist?
I
Is that
don't
still?
actually know, and that's also really sad, the fact that we don't know.
No, I know, but that was kind of like, the peak career moment was to get #1 on Hype Machine. It did happen a couple of times, but like, thank you.
Yeah.
But now, to any Gen Z people, it will mean absolutely nothing to you. So I'm sorry about that. But it was basically how we all discovered new artists. And now we're in the age of the Spotify playlist, I guess. But other streaming services are available.
Facts. Okay, so I have to say also Bill's left a comment which is really nice too. He says you're described as the Harrogate pop phenomenon, which is also the home of Yorkshire tea, Betty's, and fine spring water. If you ever fancy a cuppa, we're only 25 miles away in York. Yorkshire tea on tap here.
Oh, that's so nice. Oh, I like Bill.
Bill, you're a legend.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bill at Vinyl Weddy. So let's get into it. I have to say, huge congratulations. It's the debut record. You're not new to music, but this is the debut. Let's start with how you're feeling.
Relieved. I feel great. Honestly, it's something I've always wanted to do. I mean, any artist would be lying if they said when joining this industry they didn't want to create an album. And it's been years in the making, and I'm so unbelievably proud of myself, but also everybody involved in creating it. So yeah, I'm happy than a pig in shit, really.
It's funny because it's called Sadgirl.
Yeah, I know. The irony.
Yeah, I feel like you've really poured your entire being into this. I feel like there's lots to get stuck into. Where did it start for you? You know how you said it's years in the making. Which tune and where did it start?
Well, I mean, as I say, I've known I wanted to make one for a while. It was just kind of trying to convince enough people that it was a viable and good idea. Because there's a lot of, it takes a village to make these things. It doesn't just happen overnight. And I was incredibly lucky to sign eventually with Network, and they facilitated it and made it all possible, which is fantastic. But the song that really kind of drove it over the line for me was Sadgirl. I wrote that with two long-term collaborators, Paul Dixon and James New, and it was a really quick write, which, if you know me, it doesn't really happen like that a lot. But it was like a 4-hour wonder. And at that point, I rung my manager and just said, I've written the song of the decade. This is not a drill. I think I need to make an album. I'm not done. What I've touched on subject-wise in this is what I've just got so much to say. And yeah, it was at that point that I decided I can try string this out and get 11 tracks over it.
And at what point did that become the title track? So that was the turning point. But yeah, was it immediately the title track?
Surprisingly, no, considering what I've just told you. No, initially I was wanting to call it something really long-winded, and I was told that, no, it's, come on now. There was a lyric on, I think it was the track 9 on the album, called American Dream, and my favorite lyric on the album is, I'm thinking this is more than just the blues. And I really wanted that to be the title, but the powers that be said absolutely not. Like, it's just too much. Like, let's be more concise. And Sadgirl says everything you needed to say. And they were right. It's the perfect title for this record.
It's the lyric is the unofficial title. We can call it that.
Thank you.
And what's the response been like? Because When I was listening, I've got tracks like Liar Liar had me thinking, there's lots of advice in hindsight, as I suspect maybe in that tune you were also probably lying to yourself about how you were doing. Many
Hmm.
people do get this, like, to get on with life. What would you say to your former self?
Oh God, that's a really good question. I mean, to the person, that I wrote Liar Liar about, I was at the time, it was a lot of trying to convince, like you say, both myself and those closest to me that I was absolutely fine. I'm a really like extroverted character. I'm super charismatic, and the minute I'm not that, people can tell there was something wrong. So I was trying really hard to keep up this facade.
It's that
Um,
word in the English language as well, isn't it? Fine. Like it doesn't always mean, it normally
yeah,
means not good, right?
exactly. But I mean, my advice to anybody would be like, just open up about it. This album does explore how me not doing that resulted in losing a friendship, a couple of friendships, and they didn't understand because I didn't tell them what was going on. And although it's really hard to admit that you're battling something truly awful, you just have to give these people, you need to let them in
Mm.
enough for them to sympathize and be patient with you, because that was the one thing I didn't do. And pretending it's all going to be all right, how are they ever going to know there's anything wrong? So I guess that would be my key takeaway from this, is to have looped them in a little bit more with how I was feeling and why I wasn't 10 out of 10.
Yeah. I think thematically that brings us nicely on to Hello Anxiety, which has an artist that I recognise as well, Kai Bosch. Feels sort of fitting that the only tune with a feature is one where the message is that if you're feeling anxious, you're not alone. Like you just mentioned as well, you should probably share and let people in. I feel like this tune will make a lot of people feel better about themselves.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, big shout out to Kai Bosch. I'm a huge fan of his, and I feel like you've played him on your show before as well. He's just such an incredible artist and lyricist, and I was overwhelmed and overjoyed when he said yes to featuring on this track. So thank you, Kai. But yeah, it was when I wrote that song, it was actually the first song that I wrote for this record without knowing at that point it was going to be a record. Wrote it over Zoom, and I just didn't touch it for months. And when it came to setting up the track listing, it was like, oh, I quite fancy that one, but it just doesn't sound complete, and I don't really know what I want to add. And like you say, it was that whole, wouldn't it be nice to get like another person on it to see if we can get not only another perspective, but just kind of reinforce that message that you need to reach out to someone when you're feeling this way. And yeah, we got Kai, and I'm elated. I think it sounds great, and our voices together is like, oh,
Yeah, your
delicious.
voices sound amazing. Yeah, 100%. And
Yeah.
I also want to know the story behind Kingpin, because I feel
Oh,
like whenever someone gets a nickname like this, there is a story to tell. Can you, yeah, tell us about the tune?
it's so salacious now. Um, this one is yeah. A lot of people have asked about this because it is quite cutting, I guess, but it's not really about one person in particular. Although the examples are very much about real things that happened. First verse was about a particular guy that I was dating who genuinely dumped me by telling me everything that I'd done that gave him the ick. It was just the weirdest thing ever, and it stuck with me forever because I've never been able to like think about anything else. Obviously, it's an overthink.
Dodged a
And then
bullet.
yeah, my God, big time. And then second verse is about a bigwig in the industry who I had a meeting with. I'm not going to name names, but it was a very real conversation, which resulted in me like, it was big part of the reason I spiraled out of control, if I'm being completely honest. Like, not to put too much on this fella, but it was a really horrible, horrible meeting. And I've wanted to write something about it forever, but I've used those two examples of really like chauvinistic, narcissistic men to provide you with Kingpin, and use them as just an example for this type of man that unfortunately we are seeing a lot of right now. So Yeah, I can't shed any more than that, Jess, but that's where we're at.
You've yeah, say no more. To be honest, I feel like probably lots of people go like this.
Yeah.
We've mentioned it. So I said Sad Girl, you know, is giving a bit of Robin, sad bop vibes. We've got Future Us has these real flurries of like jazziness to it as well. Liar Liar has this soaring nature, American Dream, bit more stripped back. What was the approach to producing this record? And I'm interested to know which tune changed the most from demo to final form.
I love that question. I'll answer that part first. The one that changed the most was definitely Jean, brackets, Two Ships. Love that song. But yeah, the demo sounds completely different. And it was because we just wrote it really early on. I wrote that with Dan Rothman of London Grammar, another friend of mine called Danny O'Forney, and a guy called Alex Haynes, and we were all in that room for, I want to say, like 12 hours. It was a really long day, and it was a hard song to write, but the demo sounds completely different to what it's like now. But Paul, aka Fife, produced the record in its entirety. I've worked with him for a long time now, and I'm in complete awe of his talent, and just the fact that he somehow knows what I'm asking him to do without me being able to ever articulate it properly. You know, I'm not actually a proficient musician, shocker, but he somehow always knows what I'm talking about and what I'm asking him to do. And when I gave him the reference points, he was just so incredible at like nailing it first time. And yeah, the influence, as I mentioned earlier, was big time, like early 2000s Madonna, a bit of Kylie as well, just to get that kind of like pumping dance floor vibe that Sadgirl had, and bass lines that are Jamiroquai worthy. That was the brief.
I have to say, shout out Luca, who on Instagram sent in a question already saying, what was it like working with Fife? How did you two find the sonic landscape for this project? Because it's so good, even with a crying emoji. So, yeah, it's got way ahead of us. But yeah, thank you, Luca, for your question.
Without even knowing.
Has there been a surprising fan favourite since the release of the record?
Yes, I've just touched on it. Jean I've received the most messages about that. Oh, here's my dog, by the way.
Yay, a record club dog. We've not had one in 2025 yet, so hello.
Hi. You must know I'm busy. That's it. I feel like that guy on BBC News when he's like, oh, do you remember? Not now. Yes, Jean, Two Ships. That was probably the one I've received the most messages about, which is, I didn't expect it because it's quite late on in the record, and you know, just people's listening habits, you can sometimes trail off before the end. So I don't know, I was just not expecting that. But I think because the topic is about, you know, losing friends, which I stand by thinking is, it's almost as heartbreaking as losing a partner, if not more. I think it's resonated with a lot of people. And the pandemic was a horrible time, and unfortunately drove this wedge between a lot of people and friendships, and some friendships require a lot more watering and nurturing, and because you weren't able to see them, you know, that I think it's landed with a lot of people. In my case, my friendship drifted because I didn't tell her what I was going through, and she didn't understand until it was too late. So there you go.
Sad girl strikes again.
It's getting all deep in here.
I have one more question before we're diving into some of the fan questions. I'm always interested to know, on a record, is there a tune that almost didn't make it for whatever reason? Like, so just so that people can savor it a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, I guess not because it didn't, you know, it was going to get the chop or anything, but more because it replaced something super last minute. But All Right, the closing track, wasn't on the record until the day I wrote it, and then I was like, right, okay, this actually surmises how I feel now, what I want the takeaway to be from the record better than anything that was previously there. So I chopped something else and put that song on super last minute. I would say probably like a week before we pitched it to the label.
Oh my God. It always is last minute. There's always one that sneaks in, I think.
Yeah. So that yeah, All Right, which I love.
Okay, so Mark on Instagram has asked, what's your most cathartic lyrics in the whole album and why? And then he's added, I love the album so much.
Would it be a bit of a cop out to say I'm just a sad girl and that makes me happy? It doesn't sound that deep, but if we unpack it, there's a lot there.
I mean, it's got the title in it.
It's got the title in it. I mean, we could be here for hours if I could like go through it with a fine tooth comb. But I mean, lyrically, the whole album it's been so cathartic. You know, just this, like, lest we forget, this whole thing was almost like a massive therapy session for me to write this and get it out. It wasn't easy to put it like pen to paper and then of course release it to the world. But yeah, I just think, you know, I don't need you to heal me. I'm just a sad girl and that makes me happy. I think that's probably the most cathartic. That was the turning point for me.
Thank you, Mark. We have Ruth also on Instagram getting stuck in, says, love this album so much. My favorite song is definitely Jean, Two Ships. It's a super emotional song and struck home with me. We're asking what the inspiration is, and we have already answered that. If there's anything else about Jean, Two Ships that you wanted to tell us, perhaps maybe in the writing.
Writing wise, I think lyrically, I am actually the most proud of this song on the record. I don't know if anyone's been me, it's like a bit of a hammer to the head, isn't it? But I've really took the whole nautical thing and ran with it in this. So there's lots and lots of nautical references and also a bit of Italian. I do speak Italian in the second verse in this song. So that was great, and a massive, massive bonus of having an Italian writer in the room with you. So that was fun.
Is that to check things, or are you fluent in Italian?
I love Italy, right? I've been every year since I was 13, so it's a very, very dear place to me. But I wanted to say something in Italian because I'm referring to a trip that I had with this person in Italy. So if they're listening, they'll definitely know it's about them at this point. But yes, I wanted to say it in Italian and he helped me. And I've got several thousand voice notes of me trying to say it properly, which I might share on the internet at some point. But for now, that's
commitment to the cause. We love it. It's for the art. Okay, Jamie on Instagram says, what will be your favorite song to play live?
Oh, good question. So I've already played a few of them live. And Liar Liar really, really went off. And I don't think at the time anyone had actually heard it. I think that's a really good test when you're an artist and you're playing live, and to play a song that no one's heard before and then for them to really lose their shit, as it were. That was a great moment. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that all over again.
Well, I'm hoping this person has tickets to your tour because, I mean, a full UK and Ireland tour from, is it October? I think it's October.
Yeah. God, well done. Well, good. That's really good for remembering. I'll have got an angry email from my management.
Why didn't you say?
Yes, I'm going on tour, UK, Ireland, October, November, and it's a big one. It's my biggest tour ever. So can't wait. Please buy your tickets. And you can meet my grandparents as well because they sell them.
Oh my God, amazing. That's really sweet. Yeah, I have to ask which place, because we've already touched on which one you're most excited to play live. Which place are you most excited to go? Maybe one that you've not been to before, or one that you know it's just going to be huge.
I've never played in Dublin before. And I've had a lot of people almost demanding with menaces, like, you have to come to Dublin. And I had a tour scheduled for 2020 and we all know how that turned out. So yeah, so I've just been wanting to go back ever since, and it's just super expensive to do it, but we've made a couple sacrifices along the way and it's now doable. So I'm super excited to play Dublin, Glasgow as well. I mean, God, everywhere. The one I know that will deliver without fail, sorry, it is London. I have to say it. I have to say it. And I know it's the cop-out answer, but It's this last show I played in London at Oslo was mind-bogglingly incredible. I've never felt such a sense of community and party at the same time. It was just immaculate vibes wise. So yeah, London, come on, let's be having you.
Well, guys, if you have your tickets anywhere else, you know that you need to step up. But that is all we have time for today. We have absolutely loved having Litany join us. Of course, make sure to get your hands on a physical copy of Sadgirl now that the episode's over. Pick one up from your local record store, support. I'm also excited to announce before we go that the winner of this week's Bowers and Wilkins wireless headphones prize is Ruth on Instagram. Please slide into the Record Club's DMs. We'll get those headphones to you. My name's Jess Iszatt. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, sending in your questions. This and all previous episodes are available to watch back on Spotify or YouTube. I'll see you for the next episode of the Record Club. But big love to Litany. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.